Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to Emma's Betrayal Stories now. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories aren't rushed. They're the kind you sit with. Today's story comes with an update and my own personal opinions throughout the story. Let me know in the comments if you agree or see it differently. Let's begin.
When my brother tried to ruin my relationship, I exposed his secrets and found true love. Ethan's phone was already in my face before I'd even finished stepping into the living room, and the first thing I registered wasn't the screen. It was the way his hand was shaking, the way his knuckles had gone pale around the case like he was gripping a railing on a cliff. The TV was still on mute in the background, some late-night cooking show silently chopping onions, and all I could hear was the buzzing in my ears and the tiny, wet click of my shoes on the hardwood because I'd rushed in from the rain without wiping them. "Tell me this isn't you," he said, and his voice sounded wrong. Too careful, like he was trying not to break something. I took one more step, and the smell of his cologne mixed with damp hit me, sharp and familiar, and I hated how comforting it felt in the middle of that moment. "Ethan, what?" I started, but he jabbed the phone closer. On the screen were screenshots. A chat thread with my name at the top, my profile photo, my little dumb pink heart emoji I use ironically with my friends, except the messages underneath weren't mine. They were flirty and desperate, and weirdly formal, like someone trying to imitate a person they'd only watched from a distance. "Miss you.
Can't stop thinking about last time."
I stared so hard my eyes started to burn. My hands went cold. "That's not," I whispered, and then I saw the contact name in the screenshots. Jade, work. I don't have anyone named Jade at work. Ethan's chest rose and felt like he'd been running. "So you don't know who this is," he said, but the way he said it made it sound like he'd already decided I did. "You don't know why there are plans to meet at the Crown on Friday. You don't know why there are pictures." "Let me see," I said, reaching for the phone, but he pulled it back instinctively, like I might delete the evidence. That movement, small, automatic, hurt more than the screenshots. My throat tightened so hard, I tasted metal. I forced myself to slow down, to keep my voice steady, even though my heart was slamming against my ribs. "Ethan, please.
Give it to me.
I need to look at it properly." He hesitated, eyes flicking over my face like he was searching for the lie, and then he handed it over. His palm was warm. Mine felt numb. I scrolled with a finger that didn't feel like it belonged to me, and there it was, a photo of me in a black dress, taken from behind, leaning across a table. Except it wasn't me. It was someone with my hair color, my height, my posture, and the photo was grainy enough to let your brain do the rest. My stomach dropped in a slow, awful way. "This is fake," I said, but the word fake sounded weak, like a kid claiming their homework got eaten. Ethan's jaw worked like he was chewing something bitter. "How is it fake?" he snapped, and then immediately winced like he didn't mean to snap. He rubbed his face with both hands, dragging them down like he was trying to wipe this whole night off.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ryan sent it. Your brother. He said he didn't want to get involved, but he couldn't watch you do this to me." My brother's name hit the room like a slammed door. It was a Tuesday night, the kind that's supposed to be boring. I'd been with Ethan for almost 2 years, and most Tuesdays we cooked something simple and argued about whether coriander tasted like soap. We weren't perfect, but we were real. We talked about moving in together in that half-joking, half-testing the water way. We'd met through a mutual friend's birthday, and the first thing I liked about him was how he listened. Not the performative, I'm listening thing. He actually remembered what I said later. He remembered my grandma's name. He remembered I hated when people stood behind me in lines. He noticed my mood shifts before I did. My brother Ryan noticed too, and he hated it. Ryan is 2 years older than me and has always acted like being older made him the authority on my life. When we were kids, he would protect me by deciding which friends were bad influences. When we were teenagers, he'd protect me by telling my parents everything I did wrong before I could explain it myself. When I moved out, he protected me by giving my dad unsolicited updates like I was a pet he was co-owning. At first, Ryan liked Ethan, at least he pretended to. He shook his hand too hard. He asked him about his salary too early. He did that thing where he turns every conversation into a test. Ethan was polite, which in Ryan's world reads as weak. Then Ethan and I started getting serious, and Ryan's tone changed. It started as little comments. He's a nice guy, just make sure you're not settling. You know men like that get bored. You're the kind of girl who gets swept up. I told myself Ryan was just being Ryan. I told myself I could ignore him. I told myself my relationship didn't need my brother's approval. Then Ryan broke up with his girlfriend of 5 years, and suddenly he was at my parents' house every weekend, sitting on the couch like a sulking prince, telling anyone who would listen that he'd been used. He said his ex, Alana, didn't support his ambitions. He said she wasn't loyal. He said she made him feel small. And the more he talked about loyalty, the more I noticed he seemed obsessed with proving mine didn't exist. The first time Ryan tried to wedge himself between Ethan and me, it was subtle. Ethan mentioned he'd gotten a promotion and Ryan laughed and said, "So you're the boss now, huh? Just don't let it go to your head." Ethan shrugged it off. Later, Ryan asked me alone, "So if he's your boss one day, does that mean you'll just do whatever he wants?" I stared at him like he'd spoken another language. "What are you even saying?" I asked. He smirked and said, "Just watching out." Then Ryan started texting Ethan directly. At first it was normal. "Hey man, got any tips for the gym? What do you think about this car?" Then it shifted. Ethan showed me one message and tried to laugh. Ryan asked if I think you'd cheat. He'd said it like it was ridiculous. I laughed too, because what else do you do when your brother is being a weirdo? Now, sitting in Ethan's living room with my wet coat clinging to my arms and my face burning, I wasn't laughing. "Ryan sent it?" I repeated, and my voice came out thin. I scrolled again, trying to find something, anything, that would make this make sense. At the bottom of the screenshots was a message. "She'll deny it. They always do. I just thought you deserved the truth." "Did he send you the actual messages?" I asked, forcing the words through my throat. "Or just screenshots?" Ethan stared at the floor. "Just screenshots." "From where?" I demanded, then caught myself because my voice went too sharp. I inhaled, slower. "Ethan, think. If it was real, why would he only send screenshots? Why wouldn't he tell you to confront me with the actual account, the actual number, the actual person?" Ethan's eyes flicked to mine. He looked tired. He looked betrayed. He looked like he wanted me to be right because being wrong would hurt less than what he was currently imagining. He said he didn't want to expose the person. Ethan murmured, like he was repeating Ryan's reasoning to himself. "That's not his style," I said, and then the anger finally snapped into place like a belt clicking. Ryan loves exposing people. Ethan's mouth twitched, and for a second I saw the Ethan I knew, the one who'd roll his eyes when Ryan got too intense. "He said he was doing it for you," Ethan said quietly. "He said he didn't want you to get trapped with someone you'd end up hurting." That made my hands shake again, but this time from rage. "He's framing me," I said. The words felt insane. Like something that happens in movies where everyone conveniently leaves evidence lying around. But my body didn't feel insane. My body felt certain. Ethan let out a long, ragged breath. "Okay," he said. "Okay. If he's framing you, how?" I stared at the screenshots until my eyes blurred. Something about them was off. The spacing, the timestamps, the way my name was spelled in the messages. Whoever wrote them didn't write like me. It sounded like someone performing Cheating Girlfriend, like a script. And the photo, grainy, distant, was the kind of thing you can generate by having a friend wear a similar dress and stand in the right light. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting my mom or my friend Tessa. It was Ryan.
"Call me.
It's about Ethan."
My mouth went dry.
I looked at Ethan and he looked at me, and in that moment we both understood. Ryan was orchestrating this in real time, like he was monitoring reactions, like he was feeding on the chaos. I didn't call. I texted back. "What did you do?" 3 dots appeared. Then, "I protected you. You'll thank me later." I stared at that message until my vision went hot. Then I did something I'm not proud of but also don't regret. I drove to my parents' house at 10 p.m. in the rain with Ethan beside me and my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. Ryan was there, of course. He always was lately. His car was in the driveway. My dad's porch light made the wet pavement shine like it was varnished. When I opened the front door, the warm smell of my mom's laundry detergent hit me, and for a split second, I wanted to collapse. Instead, I walked straight into the living room where Ryan was sitting like he owned the place, feet up, scrolling on his phone. He looked up, saw Ethan behind me, and his mouth curved into a little satisfied smile. "Oh," Ryan said, like he was pleasantly surprised. "You brought him." My mom's face tightened. "Sophie, what is this?" I didn't answer her. I stared at Ryan. "Show me the messages," I said. Ryan blinked like I'd asked him to perform magic. "What messages?" "The ones you sent, Ethan," I said, my voice shaking now but loud enough that it didn't matter. "The cheating messages. The screenshots. Show me the real account. Show me the real chat log." Ryan leaned back, slow and relaxed. "Why are you attacking me?" he asked, eyes widening just a fraction, the way he always did when he wanted to look like the calm victim. "I was trying to help." Ethan spoke before I could. "Ryan, I need to know where you got them." Ryan's eyes flicked over Ethan's face like he was measuring whether his plan was working. "She's doing what I said she'd do," Ryan said, nodding at me. "She's denying it. She's turning it around on me. Classic." My mom made a small noise, like she was swallowing panic. "Sophie, stop," I said to her, not gently. "Just, please stop." "Mum, he's lying." Ryan's smile disappeared. "Don't call me a liar." "Then prove you're not," I snapped. Ryan stood up and suddenly he was right in front of me. Too close. He smelled like aftershave and arrogance. "You're emotional," he said softly, like he was doing me a favor. "You always get emotional when you're cornered." Something in me went still. I looked at him and realized he'd rehearsed this. He wasn't reacting, he was performing. I pulled Ethan's phone out and held it up. "These aren't real," I said. "And I'm going to prove it. Either you show me the source right now, or I go to the police for harassment and impersonation because you are fabricating evidence to destroy my relationship." My dad's eyebrows shot up. "Police?" Ryan laughed once, sharp. "Oh my God. Sophie, listen to yourself." Then my mom said, very quietly, "Ryan, did you do this?" Ryan's eyes flicked to her, and for half a second, the mask slipped. It was tiny, but I saw it. Irritation. Not guilt. Irritation that she'd even ask. "I was helping," Ryan said again, louder now. "She's with a guy who's going to leave her. She always picks men who—" Ethan flinched, like Ryan had hit him with words. "You don't know me," Ethan said, voice tight. Ryan shrugged. "I know your type." That's when I remembered something Tessa had said a week earlier. We'd been at a cafe, and she'd leaned across the table and said, "Your brother gives me bad vibes. He asks me weird questions about your relationship. Like if Ethan has access to your phone. If you two share passwords. Like he's plotting something." At the time I'd laughed it off. Now, my stomach twisted. I looked at Ryan's phone in his hand. It was unlocked. He'd been scrolling when I came in. And there, at the top of his notifications, was a little banner that made my blood go cold. "New login alert. Sophie's iCloud." I stared. My breath caught. My mum followed my gaze. "What's that?" she asked, confused. Ryan shifted his phone instinctively, angling it away. Too late. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. "You accessed my iCloud," I said, voice low. Ryan scoffed. "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did," I said, stepping closer, eyes locked on the phone. "That's a login alert." "Why do you have a login alert for my account?" Ryan's jaw clenched. "Because You've been in my account," I said, and the words made me feel sick. "That's how you got my profile photo. That's how you know my contacts. That's how you knew what emojis I use." Ethan's face drained of color. "Ryan, what the hell?" Ryan's posture tightened. He wasn't relaxed anymore. You're being dramatic, he snapped, and there it was, the real Ryan. The one who lashes out when he can't control the narrative. I tried to keep this between us, Soph, but you're forcing me. You're humiliating me in front of everyone. Good, I said, and my voice surprised me, because it didn't break. Because you tried to humiliate me to ruin my relationship.
My dad stepped forward.
Ryan, he said, slower now, heavier. Give me the phone. Ryan laughed, but it sounded thin.
What?
Dad, come on. Give me the phone, my dad repeated. Ryan looked at my mum, like he expected her to rescue him. She didn't. She looked pale, like she just realized something she couldn't unsee. Ryan's eyes narrowed. You're all just going to believe her? Over me? I reached into my bag and pulled out my own phone. My hands were still shaking, but now it was anger holding them together.
Fine, I said.
Then I'll show you why you should believe me. Because while Ryan had been busy trying to ruin my life, I'd been busy, too. Quietly, carefully, because I'd learned from living with him that the loud person always wins unless you come prepared. I'd called my mobile carrier earlier that day when I saw a weird security email. I'd asked them for a log of SIM-related activity. I'd also checked my email login history. And the login location? My parents' suburb. The timestamp? The same day Ethan received the screenshots. Ryan's face changed when he saw the printed email log on my screen. His eyes flicked, fast, calculating. Ryan, I said, voice shaking now with the weight of it. You hacked into my account. You impersonated me. You made fake messages. And you sent them to my boyfriend to try to destroy my relationship. My mom made a sound like she'd been punched. My dad's face went very still. Ethan stared at Ryan with something like disgust. Ryan opened his mouth, and I could see him scrambling for the next move. Cry, rage, deny, blame. But before he could, my dad said, why? And Ryan, because he can't stand silence, answered. Because she's embarrassing, he snapped. Because she thinks she's better than us. Because she's acting like she's going to build some perfect little life and leave me behind. The room went quiet, and then he said the part that finally explained everything. Because you always choose them over me. I stared at him. Them? I repeated, incredulous. Your friends. Your boyfriends.
Your job.
Everything, Ryan said, voice rising. You're supposed to be my sister. You're supposed to have my back. My back, I said, and a laugh burst out of me, sharp and ugly. Ryan, you stole my passwords. He took a step toward me, eyes blazing. I did what I had to do. Ethan moved slightly closer to me, not touching, but there, like an anchor. And in that small movement, in that quiet choice, my whole body unclenched a fraction. Because Ethan wasn't backing away anymore. He wasn't staring at me like I was guilty. He was staring at Ryan like Ryan was exactly what he was, a threat. My dad said, get out. Ryan blinked. What? Get out of my house, my dad repeated, voice low and furious.
Right now.
Ryan looked at my mum again, pleading now. Mum. My mum's eyes were wet. Ryan, she whispered, like she couldn't believe she was saying it. What have you done? Ryan's mouth twisted. So you're choosing her. My dad pointed the door. Out. Ryan's face hardened. He shoved his phone into his pocket and stormed past me, shoulder bumping mine hard enough that I stumbled. He paused at the doorway, turned, and said to Ethan, good luck. She'll ruin you. And then he left. I stood there shaking. Not from fear now, but from the crash of adrenaline leaving my body. My mum started crying. My dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 seconds. Ethan's hand hovered near mine, hesitant, like he didn't want to push. I looked at him and finally let myself say the truth out loud. I didn't do any of it. Ethan nodded once, eyes bright. I know, he said quietly. I'm sorry I didn't know sooner. And that's where I'm going to stop for a second, because this is the point where it could have gone in a dozen directions, where I could have spiraled, where Ethan could have still left, where my family could have covered for Ryan. What happened next is the part that still feels unreal when I think about it. Ryan is the kind of person who doesn't just want attention, he wants control. And he hides it behind this smug big brother. Act like he's doing you a favor by policing your life. The iCloud login alert is genuinely chilling, not because it's some Hollywood hacking montage, but because it's so intimate and violating. That's your photos, your contacts, your private conversations, your identity. He didn't just try to break up a relationship. He tried to rewrite who you are in someone else's eyes. That's a special kind of ugly. Your parents are complicated here. I'm glad your dad finally hit the get out button, but it's also clear Ryan's been allowed to play dictator for years. Your mom's tears feel real, but part of me wants to shake her gently and say, you don't get to be shocked if you've been excusing his behavior since he was 15. Still, watching her not rescue him this time matters. That's growth, even if it's late. Ethan? I actually like him. The phone pullback hurt, sure, but that's a human reaction when someone is handed proof they didn't ask for, delivered by a family member. The important thing is what he did after. He came with you, he looked at the facts, and he stood next to you when your brother got aggressive. That's not performative loyalty. That's the quiet kind, the kind that shows up in rain at 10 p.m. and doesn't flinch when the villain is wearing your last name.
Update. Okay. So,
a lot happened after that night, and I'm writing this partly because people asked, partly because I needed to put it somewhere that isn't just my own head replaying it at 3 a.m. First, Ethan and I didn't go back to his place immediately. We sat in my car outside my parents' house for a long time, engine off, rain tapping on the windshield in this steady, annoying rhythm. I kept staring at my hands like I couldn't believe they belonged to me. Ethan kept saying, "Are you okay?" And I kept saying, "Yeah," which was a lie in the way people lie when the truth would open a trapdoor under them. When I finally looked at Ethan, his eyes were red. Not sobbing red, but that tight, bright look like he'd been clenching his jaw for too long. "I'm sorry," he said again, and this time his voice cracked. "I should have called you first. I should have asked. Your brother sounded so convincing." "Because he rehearses," I said, and my throat felt raw. "Because he's done this to me my whole life, just not this extreme." Ethan reached over and took my hand carefully, like he was handling something bruised. "I believe you," he said. "I believed you the second I saw how the messages were written. It wasn't you." Then he paused. "But I'm still angry. Not at you. At him. At myself for letting him get in my head. That mattered more than I can explain, him naming the emotion without dumping it on me. So many people make their feelings your responsibility. Ethan didn't. He just sat in it with me. The next day, I did the unsexy adult stuff. I changed every password, set up two-factor authentication, removed trusted devices, checked my email forwarding settings, called my bank, froze my credit, all of it. It felt ridiculous and paranoid until I found out Ryan had actually tried to open a store credit account in my name 2 months earlier. It hadn't gone through because the address didn't match. I only found out because once you start tugging at one loose thread, the sweater starts unraveling. I confronted my parents about that, and my dad went very quiet and asked my mom, "How long has he been like this?" My mom started crying again and said, "He's been struggling." And my dad said, "Struggling doesn't mean stealing from your sister." Here's the part that's hard to admit. My parents didn't immediately cut Ryan off completely. They told him to leave that night, yes, and my dad told him not to come back until he got help. But then my mom started doing the thing moms do when they're terrified their kid is going to spiral, sending texts like, "Please just talk to us," and "We love you," and "Your sister is upset, but she'll forgive you." I told her, very clearly, that I was not forgiving anything right now. She looked at me like I'd slapped her, then nodded like she understood, then did it anyway because she's human and scared, and also because she spent years cushioning Ryan from consequences. Ryan, meanwhile, went on a campaign. He texted Ethan from a new number. He messaged mutual friends. He posted vague quotes on social media about betrayal and family choosing outsiders. He even sent me an email like it was 2009, saying he didn't mean it to go that far and that Ethan misinterpreted and that I humiliated him. I didn't reply. Ethan did something I didn't expect. he replied to Ryan. One message.
Come.
Screenshot proof. He wrote, "Do not contact either of us again. What you did is harassment and identity impersonation. Any further contact will be documented." Then he blocked him everywhere. I cried when I saw that message, which sounds dramatic, but it wasn't because Ethan was being heroic. It was because someone finally drew a line for me without asking me to justify why I needed it. A week later, I went to the police station with a folder, the login alert screenshot, the carrier notes, the email login history, Ryan's texts, the fake screenshots, everything. The officer I spoke to didn't roll her eyes. She listened. She explained my options: harassment, unauthorized access, identity impersonation. She said even if it didn't lead to a prosecution, having a report on file mattered if things escalated. I filed the report. That same day, Ryan showed up outside my apartment building. Not inside, but close enough that when I stepped out, I saw him leaning against a post like he was waiting to pick me up for school again. My stomach dropped. I didn't go toward him. I stayed near the door where the security camera was visible. He smiled like nothing happened. "Hey," he said, "we need to talk." "No," I said, and my voice came out steady in a way that felt like borrowing someone else's strength. His smile faltered. "Sophie, come on. You're blowing this up. You broke into my account," I said. "You tried to ruin my relationship. You tried to open credit in my name."
He scoffed.
"I didn't open anything. I checked," I said. "And I filed a police report." His face changed then, anger, sharp and quick. "Are you serious?" "Yes." He stepped closer. "You're really going to do that to your own brother?" I didn't move. My palms were sweating. My heart was pounding. But I didn't move. "You did it to me first," I said. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he'd gotten so used to me smoothing things over that he genuinely couldn't compute the version of me that doesn't. He left after that, but not before saying, "He'll leave you. When he does, don't come crawling back." And here's the twist I didn't expect. Ethan didn't leave. If anything, he got more present, more intentional. Not love bombing or making grand speeches, just showing up. Fixing my busted door latch. Sitting with me while I made phone calls. Walking me to my car without making me feel like a fragile thing. And that's where the true love part comes in, I guess. Not because this is a romance novel. Because real love looks like someone believing you when the liar shares your DNA. Back to the story, finishing it off. After the police report and the apartment confrontation, things got quieter on the surface, but heavier underneath. My mom kept asking if I'd consider family counseling. My dad kept saying, "Let's not push him away completely." And every time they said him, I heard the unspoken part. "At your expense." Ethan and I had a long talk one night sitting on my couch eating takeaway that tasted like cardboard because I couldn't taste anything through the stress. He said, "I'm with you. But you need to decide what boundaries look like because your brother isn't going to stop just because he got caught." So I decided. I told my parents I would not attend events where Ryan was present. I told them they were welcome in my life, but not as messengers or negotiators for him. I told them if they gave him information about me, where I lived, where I worked, my schedule, I would pull back from them too, because I wasn't going to keep being accessible to someone who treats access like a weapon. My mom cried. My dad got defensive. Then my dad did something that surprised me. He asked me to show him everything. Not just the highlights. Everything. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I used to do homework, and I laid out the timeline. The login alert. The credit check. The texts. The new number. My dad's hands shook as he read. He kept blinking like his eyes were dry. When he finished, he didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, very quietly, "I'm sorry. Not I'm sorry this happened. Not I'm sorry you feel hurt. Just, I'm sorry." Like he understood he'd helped build the world where Ryan thought he could do this. 2 weeks later, Ryan called my dad and demanded to come back. My dad said no unless Ryan handed over his devices for an audit and agreed to therapy. Ryan lost it. He screamed. He blamed me. He said I was poisoning them. My dad didn't fold. He hung up. I heard about it later from my mum, who looked like she'd been holding her breath for years and finally exhaled. He sounded not well, she whispered. Then he needs help, I said. Not control. I didn't get a movie ending where Ryan apologizes and everyone hugs. What I got was something more real and, honestly, harder. My parents slowly stopped feeding the monster. They stopped cushioning him. They stopped passing me guilt like it was a family heirloom. It wasn't perfect. There were setbacks. There were texts from my mum that still started with, "I know you're upset," but there were moments where I had to say, "Stop. If you keep going, I'm leaving." And I did leave, sometimes. I walked out. I got in my car. I drove home. I let them sit with the discomfort instead of handing it back to me. Ethan and I moved in together 6 months later, not because we were trying to prove something, but because we wanted to. The first night in the new place, we ate dinner on the floor because we didn't have a table yet, and Ethan looked at me and said, "It's peaceful." I felt my eyes sting because peace used to feel unfamiliar. Now it felt like something I deserved. One afternoon, a year after the night in the living room, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Ryan. Just one line. "I still think he'll leave."
I stared at it for a long time.
Then I typed back. "And I still think you'll do anything to avoid looking at yourself." Then I blocked it. I didn't expose Ryan's secrets by posting screenshots online or burning him publicly to strangers. I exposed them where it mattered, inside the family system that had protected him. I made the truth impossible to ignore. And the biggest secret wasn't the hacking or the lies. It was the entitlement underneath. The belief that my happiness was something he could veto. Ethan kissed my forehead when he saw my hands shake after that text. He didn't ask what I needed in a dramatic way. He just stood there with me until my breathing slowed. That's what love has looked like for me since all this happened. Not fireworks, not speeches, just steady presence in the aftermath of someone else's chaos. I didn't win by destroying my brother. I won by refusing to be controlled. By choosing someone who doesn't confuse love with possession. By building a life where sabotage can't reach me because the doors are locked, the passwords are changed, and the people inside believe me. Ryan is the kind of person who would set your house on fire and then show up with a bucket of water so everyone calls him a hero. That's what the "I protected you" line is. It's not concern, it's ownership dressed up as care. He didn't want you safe, he wanted you manageable. And when you weren't, he went for the one thing that could yank you back into the role he prefers. A relationship crisis, a public shame moment, a narrative where you're the unstable one and he's the rational witness. The iCloud login alert is the scariest detail because it's so intimate. It says, "I deserve access to you." That mindset doesn't stop on its own. It escalates until consequences force it to stop. Your parents, I have mixed feelings. Your dad stepping up and saying, "Get out," is the first real boundary, and it matters. But it also reads like a man waking up late to a pattern he helped normalize. Your mom's instinct to smooth it over is understandable and also dangerous, because every "she'll forgive you" is basically a permission slip Ryan didn't earn. Still, the fact they eventually started choosing truth over comfort is huge. Family systems like this survive on everyone pretending the loudest person is just passionate. When the pretending stops, the whole structure shakes. Ethan is the quiet MVP. Yes, he hesitated at first, and that hurt, but it's also realistic. The important part is that he didn't stay stuck in the doubt. He came with you. He asked for proof. He watched Ryan's mask slip, and he anchored himself beside you instead of demanding you perform innocence perfectly. That one message he sent, calm, firm, documented, tells me he's not a "love you when it's easy" partner. He's a "love you when it costs me comfort" partner. That's rare. And you? You did the hardest thing a lot of people never do. You made consequences real inside your own family. You didn't just cry and hope someone else fixed it. You gathered receipts. You filed a report. You set boundaries and actually enforced them. That's not petty. That's survival with a spine. If Ryan ever genuinely changes, it'll be because you stopped letting him use you as his mirror.